What are your thoughts towards this whole all-in journey? Please, I want to know, so please go down in the comments below. What are your guys' thoughts on the all-in journey? Have you gone all-in? Have you heard about what all-in is? Anything else you want to say about the all-in journey? Please write that down below. I really want this video to be just a good resource for people to help determine if they want to sort of do this whole all-in thing, or if there's a different approach to recovery that would be better for them. So I first off have to preface this whole video by saying that there's no one right way to recover, and what works well for one person won't work well for the other, and vice versa. So recovery is all about finding out what works for you and sticking to that, creating a good action plan that feels right to you. Not right to the eating disorder voice, because that's always going to be let's not recover and let's stay in these disordered behaviors that we have, but what's right just like for the journey that you've been on. So every single person's recovery journey is going to look radically different, and that's okay. But there are things out there like the mini mod protocol, the all-in protocol, that we can sort of look at and be like, okay, do I want to incorporate this or sort of utilize this sort of template for my own recovery? So with that preface in place, that there is no sort of like perfect way to recover, and I'm not saying in this video at all that one should do this or one should do that, not at all. Rather, what I want to do here is I want to share with you guys what I think are the top pros and the top cons of doing the all-in journey. After working with lots and lots of women now on helping them heal their period, helping them heal their metabolism after years of restriction and over exercising and dieting and all that good stuff, I've really just come to formulate my thoughts a little bit more on this whole all-in process, as I have seen it play out in so many different people, and I have seen it not play out in so many different people. Like, I've seen it go wrong in some for some people. So we're gonna dive into that. So first off, what is the all-in protocol? The all-in protocol was created by Dr. Nicola Rinaldi. She's an amazing woman. She wrote a book called No Period, Now What, which I highly recommend for anyone who's struggling with their period, whether that be irregular cycles or amenorrhea. She is a wealth of information, and she has put so much into that book. And that book was actually a huge catalyst into my own recovery journey. And we will get into this, but yes, I did do the all-in approach, but like with everything in my life, I put asterisks on the end of that. I have my thoughts on all of that, and I did it a little bit different than what I see most people doing, but we'll get into that. So the all-in approach is pretty much helping a woman's body feel safe again after amenorrhea, so that it can restore proper functioning of the reproductive system. So it involves completely eliminating exercise so that we can really get our cortisol down and restore the body's health, and also eating a minimum of 2,500 calories a day. So simple, right? But in practice, not as simple. And for many of us, it's actually quite daunting, the very fact of like completely eliminating exercise and eating lots of food. That is like the exact thing that the eating disorder mind absolutely hates, which is good, because we don't want to be pleasing our eating disorder mind. So just notice right now, if like when you think about the all-in journey, if you get sort of that like, oh, don't really like the idea of this, I completely understand. That was exactly me. And it wasn't until I read her book that I was like, fine, there's enough like logical science here to really show me that if I do these things, I'm going to get my period back. So with that said, let's dive into this, and I want to start off with the pros, because guys, there's a lot of pros to this whole all-in journey. I think one of the biggest pros is that she really does mention the benefits of completely eliminating exercise from your life. I know that this is super hard, and she even talks about this, and I see this in my clients all the time. It's like I can get to them to the point where, okay, they're going to eat food again. We're incorporating different foods. We're adding in a variety of foods. But then it comes to like, and now let's take 5 minutes off of exercise. And they're like, no, can't do this. It's like such a terrifying thought. So the exercise part seems to be really hard for people to let go of. But I love that Dr. Nicola Rinaldi is really, really showcasing how important it is to let it go. And she really showcases how important it is for the physical body. So, really reducing stress, helping your body be able to replenish itself after years of, say, being a cardio bunny and running like 12 miles a day and doing the Stairmaster and all of that. So it really helps us repair physically so that our body can get back to a state of balance. It can get out of energy debt, so that we can get our period back, which is what we want. I want to add on to this a little bit here because I actually think that the mental benefits from releasing exercise is huge and something that we definitely should put in this pros list here. Okay, so for me, you guys, exercise was a huge part of my disorder from like day one. I became very obsessed with exercising. I'm talking about like 6-7 hours a day, 4 or 5 different gym memberships. Like I was that type of person, pretty much just running my body to the ground. And it became such this, it's an addiction, guys. I got so warped up into this like high that I would feel slash this numbness that I would feel every single time I would put on my running shoes. And then it was like, yes. And I would feel so anxious if I didn't do it. And it was, gosh, it ruled my life, right? I'm the girl that was bringing, my swimming goggles and cap and my running shoes and everything in my bag, like everywhere I went, because God forbid I get this urge to exercise and I had to have my things there. So for me, mentally releasing this obsession or this feeling of this need of I have to exercise was honestly hands down the best part about giving up exercise. I learned how to regulate my emotions, my anxiety, my stress, my fears. I learned how to regulate that in ways that had nothing to do with exercise, meaning I developed healthier coping mechanisms for this. Completely eliminating it also really helped me secure this like feeling of I can survive if I never exercise again. And I think that's important. Listen, I am all for exercise and I love it now and I do it in such a healthier way. And I think it's such a huge part of being a happy, healthy human being is having movement in your life. But we can't have it rule our life to the point that we say no to certain opportunities and things because we're not going to have a gym, or we won't have access to a swimming pool, or we won't have weights with us. I really regret saying no to a lot of the opportunities that were handed me in life because of my exercise addiction. I didn't travel, I didn't take certain jobs, I didn't take certain classes at school because it interfered with my exercise schedule. So getting to this place where I can completely whoa, I am good without exercising was such a mental switch, so that now in my healthy life now, I love working out. I love going to the gym. I was there this morning. The gym also, though, this is the first day it was open in like 7 weeks because of this dang coronavirus. And during those 7 weeks, I was fine. Completely fine, guys. Like, sure, it would have been nice to go to the gym. My self-worth isn't valued on how hard I exercised or how much. So, gym closes down for COVID. Whatever, it's fine. I'll go on more beach walks. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And this is what completely eliminating it from my life did. So it gave me that peace and calm to not exercise. So that's a huge pro. Now the other pro, sorry, that was a long one. The other pro here is the emphasis on eating enough food. Guys, not eating enough food is what got you in this place. So we have to replenish our body's stores, and Nicola Rinaldi really hones in on this point here of we got to get the calories up, we got to get the calories up, we got to get the calories up. There's sort of no other way about it. I wish there was a magic pill, guys. Like, I wish I could bottle it up and sell it to you for $49.99, but I can't. There's just no such thing, and the work is going to be about redefining your relationship to food and learning how to properly fuel your body. The last thing that I forgot to mention, guys, that I really like about Dr. Nicola Rinaldi's work is that she really shows how important it is to have enough body fat, so high body fat percentage, along with a healthy BMI, and no, that is not your 18 BMI. She really talks about how a fertile BMI is going to be around 22, and I've seen that be sort of tried and true with a lot of my clients. So I really thank her for putting out that research that shows that as women, we need a higher body fat percentage than men, and that gaining weight is not only okay, but it is super beneficial for this process. So, round of applause for all the work that she's done to gather that research. And I think that that is a huge pro in the whole all-in approach, is that she's really emphasizing the necessity for many people to gain weight throughout this process. So those are the big pros here with the all-in journey, and these are the two main components of going all in: is stop exercise and start eating lots of good food. So those are the pros, and I think it's really great because we got to do those type of things, and there's no getting out of that. Okay. Onto the cons list here. I have just some things to say in regards to this, because we watch all these girls like Stephanie Buttermore and all these people like doing the all-in journey, and it really is this whole like, I'm completely releasing any and all food fears, and I'm just going at it, and I'm gaining a bunch of weight, I'm gaining it quickly, and I am just focusing on healing my metabolism, and that is great, 100%. That is going to be really, really, really daunting and nearly impossible for so many people who are trying to recover. So you got to take into account where you are at. When I personally went through my all-in journey, I was at a point where I had already really healed my relationship to food. I was already eating enough, let me rephrase that. I was eating like a good amount of food, but I was vegan. And that was my big thing. So going all in for me was, now I'm incorporating a lot of animal products, and I'm really going to focus on gaining weight and and eating lots of calories. So I did have to up my calories quite a bit. I was stuck in this quasi recovery where I was eating probably maybe normal amount-ish. I wasn't at that point where I was trying to starve myself anymore, but I definitely was holding back a lot on like as far as like my caloric intake and nutrient density. But anyway, so by the time I got to the all-in journey, all right, I could handle it. I really I was in a clearer state of mind. I had gained a lot of experience from my previous sort of attempts at recovery. I had learned a lot about eating disorders in general. So I was at the point where I was like, okay, I can logically look at this and think about this now and not get so tied up in my emotions and just like do this protocol thing. But for a lot of you guys, that might not work, and this whole idea. So this is what I see with my clients, is they're like, I tried to do this whole all-in thing, and I started eating and eating and eating, consuming all these food, and my like hunger was going everywhere, and I was crazy, and I gained all this weight, and then they're like freaking out about it because they completely let go of like all structure that they had, and like 180-degree switch to flip, which for some people, again, sure, maybe this can work for you, but for a lot of people, that's too much. So a con is the all-in journey is intense and it lacks structure, which can make people just relapse further because it's almost like too much. So while I agree that learning how to release structure is important, I think that there is a slower, more sustainable approach that could be taken. So that's one of my biggest cons there, is that it's not something that everyone can easily do because of their state of mental health and where they're at with food. My next con is that it doesn't really incorporate this idea of focusing on really healing your metabolism via eating very nutrient dense, pro-metabolic type foods that are really going to rev everything up and replenish your stores. I'm really, really on the side of nutrition does matter. Now, that doesn't mean you should eat salads and raw broccoli. In fact, a lot of my nutrition advice is like, let's stop abusing vegetables. Let's start eating eggs and cream and butter and milk and fish and meat and all of that stuff. But for me, I don't see it as the best idea to just be like, now I'm gonna go out and eat like Twinkies and Cheerios and donuts and all of that like all day long because I'm trying to let go of these food fears and restore my menstrual cycle. This is where this is hard, and we really hone in on this in coaching, guys, because yes, you need to completely eliminate this idea of there's a good food and there's a bad food. Stop thinking in these black and white way, okay? It is important to be able to accept any and all food, to be able to go out to someone's house and just eat whatever is there, to be able to go out to a restaurant, to travel and do all of that without worrying about your food. 100% eat the Oreo, eat the donut, eat the cake, get rid of those fears. But it doesn't mean just go crazy and start only eating that stuff. I think that the more wiser approach here is going, okay, I need to redefine what a healthy, balanced diet looks like. If I'm vegan, I need to start eating animal products. If I've cut out all my carbs, I need to start adding in carbs. But that doesn't necessarily mean like, let me just go out and add donuts. No, can we add potatoes, sweet potatoes, rice, good sourdough bread, and tubers and things like that, like honey, dates, dairy products, things like that. Like those are good, nourishing, dense carbs. As we focus on building good dietary principles and we really hone in on our nutrition in a non-obsessive, non-dogmatic way, we're really setting up the body for success to be able to, one, get its period back faster, because when you eat things like pate and liver, like that's a lot of nutrition there. You're really going to be increasing your body's nutrient availability, which is going to help it restore quicker, and it's going to help you build back bones and all of that. So we want to be giving our body these nutrient dense foods, and that's my one thing against the All In protocol. She doesn't really talk about that, and she's not putting a huge emphasis on what type of foods. It's sort of more like just eat all of everything. I think that there's a smarter way in working with the body, how it works, working with nutrient-dense foods, pro-metabolic foods that are going to be really supporting your liver and your thyroid so that you have a high metabolic rate. When you have a high metabolic rate, your hormones get balanced, your digestion is great, you have clear, sharp thoughts, and all of this good stuff. So when I say metabolic rate, that's more than, we think of metabolism as like how much I weigh, and it's so much more than that. It's like how efficient your body is at taking in nutrition, utilizing it, and all of that. So we want to have an efficient or higher metabolism, right? So that we can eat lots of good food and we can be maintaining a healthy weight and have everything sort of working properly. So once we really work on, okay, I'm building up a really good nutrient dense diet, then we can work on how can I just go freaking have the birthday cake and like forget about it, because it's not that big of a deal. I take a very zoomed out approach to my food, like big picture, am I nourishing my body with good healthy stuff? Great. Zoom in, you see the churros, you see the chocolate croissant, you see like all these things, right? That's healthy, that's good. We shouldn't be so rigid and strict and have to eat clean and perfect all the time. So yeah, this is the type of stuff we do in coaching, guys, but hopefully you guys sort of understand what I'm saying. Let me know in the comments down below if that totally makes sense. I pretty much just want to see more of an emphasis of good quality foods with the whole All In protocol. I think that that would be better. When I went all in, this is sort of what I did. That's why I put the little asterisk with my All In protocol. I ate an abundant amount of food. I tracked for a couple days. I'm not a tracker, never have been, but I did track for a couple days just to see where I was at, and there were some days where I was eating upwards of 6,000 calories a day. A lot, I know, but keep in mind I restricted for 11 years. My body had a lot of building back up to do. So I ate lots and lots of food, but I was eating bone marrow. I was eating sardines. I was making my homemade sourdough bread. I was eating raw milk. I was doing, organic grass-fed meats. Like, my all-in journey was really like traditional cuisine, homemade, good quality food. That was the basis of it. So I was eating lots of and lots and lots of this good stuff, and I wasn't necessarily going out and just like eating a bunch of fast food all the time. But I did do challenges, and I did, open myself up to that. So now I'm at that point where I'll eat any and everything. But 90% of the food I was eating was really good quality. And I think that that really helped me get to the place where I have really good cycles now. I'm not dealing with like PCOS. I'm not dealing with any sort of like diabetes or anything like that. And don't want to say that as like a scare tactic type of thing, but just saying like nutrition does matter. And I wanted to get my body back to a place where I was in a really healthy spot and I had a really good functioning metabolism. And I didn't have a lot of inflammation and other things sort of going on. So that's what eating the nutrient dense diet as your base is going to do for you. So my next con here is going to be the lack of discussing the other important parts of recovery. It's a very logical approach, a very more scientific approach to recovering, which is great. And yes, let's utilize that. But keeping in mind that there's this whole other side of recovery of like redefining your relationship with nourishment. Why did you start restricting in the first place? What is your relationship to your period, to your femininity, to your sexuality? Is that maybe coming into play here? It's really helpful to take a very holistic approach to this process instead of just a very sort of logical mathematical approach, which I see a lot of people who do the all-in journey, they tend to sort of gear more towards that approach. It's very like, let me track, a lot of them will track their calories of like making sure I'm getting exactly 2,500. And me on my side, when I work with my clients, like, let's get you to the place where you can just sit down at dinner with other people and enjoy and eat good food and laugh, drink, and be merry. And like, that's sort of my approach to recovery, not like, let's have you track everything to make sure that you're getting, the exact amount of fat to protein ratio that you need. I get it and it can be helpful, and I'm not trying to mock that in any way, but I'm just trying to bring in this idea that eventually you want to get to this place where you aren't tracking, you aren't counting calories, you aren't obsessed with that, and you can just be an intuitive eater, an intuitive person, and you can just live your life and be open to the different food experiences that come your way without having to stress about it. So after hearing some of the pros and cons, I think that exist with this whole all-in protocol, I would love for you to go back to the comment section down below and tell me what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? The idea of this isn't for me to say I have the one holy grail answer to recovery. I mentioned that in the beginning. There's no such thing. But I'm simply just bringing my experience into this and my thoughts around this so that we can have discussions so that people can look at this and decide what works for them. So be kind in the comments below. I'd love to hear you guys' experience. Like I said, I technically did do the all-in protocol thing and it was ridiculously helpful. I just did it in a more mindful way, I would say, and in a way that I felt really promoted my health and not this like crazy just, I'm going to release it all and just feel very airy. I know for me that just wouldn't have worked. I needed to feel grounded, and so focusing on grounding foods, focusing on grounding my energy was really important. And so I had to have more of a little bit of a game plan there. Alright, so that's it for this video. If you could please like this video and subscribe, guys. It helps get my content out to other people. YouTube is not my full-time job. I create these videos for free, so it would be great if you can just support it. If you watched it and you liked it, go ahead and hit the like button. That really helps me out. Okay, guys, I will see you in my next video. Have a good one. Bye.